Greetings and welcome to a tutorial of the tab-ez grant writing software tool intended to streamline the grant writing process for US EPA Brownfields grants. This tutorial will walk through the steps of how to get started with an application and demonstrate some key features of the tool. In order to access and use tab-ez, you do need to have a KSU Tab account. To register for an account or to log in with an existing account, visit our website at ksutab.org and click on the login button in the upper right-hand corner. Here you will be able to register for an account if you are a new user, or if you are an existing user, log in with your existing email and password. Once logged in, you can access tab-ez through our online tools drop-down menu. This is the homepage of tab-ez. It includes a brief description of the tool, explains how you can get started, and also includes some helpful links here as you are working through tab-ez. If you are an existing user of tab-ez and you have drafted applications in the past, your homepage might look something like this. Either way, whether you're a new user or an existing user, to start a new grant application template, you want to click on the button Start New Grant Application. Here you will be asked to select the type of grant application that you will be submitting, and you will want to give it a unique identifier specific to the grant you will be submitting an application for. Save and continue. Once your grant application is created, you will be directed to the overview page. This overview page just provides some additional written instruction for utilizing tab-ez, as well as providing some helpful links to the grant guidelines, some FAQs, and some contact information. Please note that tab-ez is updated each year when the grant guidelines are released. Currently, tab-ez is configured for calendar year 2022, fiscal year 23 grant applications, as the guidelines for fiscal year 24 have not been released yet. You can continue to configure your application by clicking on Application Configuration over here on the left-hand side. These application configuration questions are just kind of a check for you on eligibility, and allows you to put in some required information. For example, the amount of funding that you will be requested, the type of contamination that will be addressed through funding. There are some additional eligibility threshold requirements that you will need to meet if you will be using any of your grant funds for petroleum versus hazardous substance, or if you're doing both. You also want to make sure that you're eligible to apply for the grant funds by selecting from the list of eligible entities. In this case, I had selected a community-wide assessment grant. Per the guidelines, there are some additional eligibility criteria to be eligible to apply for this type of grant, meaning that if you have an active EPA Brownfields grant or multipurpose grant, you need to be able to demonstrate 70% drawdown of those grant funds. So this is just a check to remind you that you do meet that requirement. If for some reason you have not drawn down that 70%, when you go to save your configuration, you will receive a notice that there could be a problem with your grant application. Don't fret. This is just, again, kind of a helpful, useful check on some of the eligibility criteria, and you can contact your regional coordinator for more information. Or if it was a mistake, you can simply come up here, correct the right selection, and resave your configuration. Once your application has been successfully configured, you can move on to generating content and addressing the grant criteria using the outline that is generated on the left-hand side. And you can see it starts with the narrative information sheet, where you type in your applicant identification, who you are. For the type of funding requested, you will see that the figure auto-populates from the grant configuration that we had. And you can just continue to address each of the criteria by following the outline here. For example, you will see that under the project area description plan for revitalization target area brownfields, if you click on this subsection, we have a description of the grant criteria for this section. We also put the evaluation criteria. So here you have both the what you need to address and how it will be scored during the grant review process. And down here in a text box is where you write your own language to address the criteria for your particular project. And save and complete. You'll notice upon saving and completing that this little circle over here becomes full. These are just guidelines to, again, help you keep track of which sections in the application you have addressed within Tab EZ and which ones are remaining to be addressed. Let's say that you are in the process of identifying some brownfield sites. And you need to come back to it because you still need to figure out some information. That's perfectly fine. Just hit save, and then you'll notice that the circle over here is only half full. Again, as you are drafting your application within Tab EZ, you can easily keep track of which sections are complete and which sections need to be further fleshed out and which sections you haven't started yet. In the guidelines, there are a few areas that designate or recommend using a table or a particular way to address your information. These tables and recommendations are part of Tab EZ, so you don't have to worry about generating those tables. You can use what's already here. Same with the cost estimates. Again, you'll notice for each of the sections listed over here, the grant criteria is listed, and then the evaluation criteria will be listed, as well as any notes. In the cost estimate section of Tab EZ, there is a table that is pre-populated to help you manage your budget. You can come in here and revise your own tasks. As needed. You can add rows, you can add columns, and again, when you are complete, you can save it, or if you're still in the process of developing your budget, just simply save it and moving on. A couple of other key features to note within Tab EZ is this add comment feature. So let's say that you are working with a collaborator on your grant application and you want to leave a little note, letting them know that, let's say you're finished with this section. You can save it here. And so then the next time Dana logs in, she can see that, oh, Maggie finished this section on this date at this time. You can also view all section revisions made and who made those revisions. So let's go down to here, view section revisions. It shows that Maggie made some entries on this date, on this time. And this are the revisions that were made. And so now you may be wondering, well, how can multiple people work on the same grant application? Under the Overview Setup tab, you can select this Manage Participants. Manage Participants allows you to add collaborators for your grant project. So if there are multiple people working on a grant project, you can do so within Tab EZ, add participants, and then everybody can be working on the same application at the same time. You can designate whether or not approvals are required for content changes by participants. What this means is whoever sets up the grant application and configures it is the owner of that application. If you would like allow others to make edits, you add them as participants. If you want to make sure that you review and approve any edits before they are saved and completed, you just mark the yes button. And so what that means is if somebody is drafting in a particular section and they were an added participant and you want to have approval for them, this, even if they save and complete it, this little button or this little circle over here will only remain half full. Once you have completed addressed all the criteria, all the relevant sections that were generated based on your application configuration are full, you can export to Word. You can export just particular sections of your grant application, or you can export the whole thing. Based on the amount of content that you may have, it could take a little long to export, but just stick with it. And then here you can see is the application. Once it's exported into Word, this is where you can go and do your final touches and your polishing. You can make additional edits if you need to. You can revise it to kind of match your style or whatever you need to do. And that's it. That is a quick how-to access Tab EZ, how to get started within Tab EZ, and how to use it.